My mother despises Ceci. I will say that again. My mother despises Ceci. She loves Ceci because Ceci has the same soul as the child she gave birth to almost 53 years ago. But Ceci has been around for 31 years now. Take that in. 31 years. And she still has problems with pronouns. Ceci has been around longer. Than her beloved child. But the love that she has for Ceci is through her beloved child. She sees Ceci as the individual who robbed her of her beloved child, her dreams. See, Ceci took away her dreams of being a grandmother. I don't know how she thought that would be promised, because you don't know. She herself was only able to bring one child here. Through a terribly risky pregnancy, a horrific birth. So why would it be guaranteed somebody else would not be able to have children? Maybe not even want children. But in her mind, it would have been an absolute. And the only way I know that is because she told this to someone who's technically a very close friend, but I consider her a sister. She told her that how dare Ceci take away my ability to be a grandmother? Ceci should have talked to me first. Ceci should have put sperm away first. Ceci had no right. And my sis said, well, what if Ceci married someone who couldn't have children? Oh, that wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have allowed it. My Ceci wouldn't have done that. Yeah, but you yourself, no, it wouldn't have happened. So, with her being stuck, and she is stuck, in that thought pattern, as the years have passed, she has only harbored more and more anger and resentment. But it's twisted because the love that she has not died with the death of the the beloved child that she brought here. That love still exists. And so it's sort of like having to deal with Ceci, because somewhere there in Ceci is the child she gave birth to. And that's where that love of hers lies, there, while there is anger, discontent at Ceci, which creates a constant battle within herself, where, some days I walk in the room and I could just see she's ready to hurl venom. Because she's fallen several times, and I'll cover that in a later episode where I will show photos. We have a camera, which I check a few times a day, just to make sure she's okay. If a new aide comes, I certainly look in to see if everything is going well, listen to hear how they're speaking with her. But for the most part, I don't sit there and, listen to what's going on 24/7 in her bedroom, because I simply don't have the time. There's other things that I have to do. But when I do check in and I do listen, particularly when I see her head making movements and something towards it, and she's saying something passionately towards the camera. So in those moments, I'm like, okay, I know she must be saying something directed at me. So I'll tune in here and there to get the general gist of what's being said. Thanks to therapy, I no longer sit for the entire conversation. I don't have to. I don't have to be present when she's spewing venom, and I don't have to give that energy. But I'll sit for a moment just to see, is there something pertinent that's going on that I may have to address? Because sometimes within that, there may be something that I can remediate, not between she and I, but something actually going on that I can remediate as well. That she's just throwing in there while she's on a tantrum in the middle of her diatribe. But mostly, it's just venom. And it's so palpable that she can't contain it. If a neighbor comes over, she goes out of her way to misgender me. And to her credit, thank you, Miss Teresa, she never falls for it. When my mother starts that game of misgendering, Miss Teresa doesn't feed into it. She'll just, if anything, just say my name. But she doesn't go along with that. My other neighbor to the right, she'll participate. Whatever my mother says, she'll go along with. And, I mean, it's not her battle. So, and why create a problem between she and my mother? I can certainly see how that could happen. But instead of having loving words for all that I have tried to do to help my mother. Her diatribes were laced with me not having common sense, me being man hungry, dick hungry, me doing anything to keep a man, me sneaking men in and out of the house, of which I explained. We have security. Security records everything. This isn't something that couldn't be verified. I will say having the cameras do give me comfort also in that her behavior remains recorded. It's not something that can be said today and then she acts as if it didn't happen, or she'll just flat out lie and say it didn't happen. But it's not easy to essentially be dead while you're alive. My mother has no warmth for Ceci. Again, because Ceci has inhabited her child's body, she has to tolerate Ceci. But if she could extract Ceci, or extract the child she gave birth to from this body and put it in another body, she would kill Ceci in a second. I remember transitioning how she would go out of her way. And again, 31 years Ceci has been around. 31. And when she was able, she would go to the store and as loud as she could say, to the point that the clerks were almost uncomfortable. In the early parts of the transition, she was more concerned that, and she told me this, she would misgender me not to be disrespectful to me, but because she didn't want other people to think that she went along with that foolishness. Because they could see it, and so she wasn't going to look foolish as I looked. So I'm sitting there like, it's more important to you to not look foolish in front of them than provide support to me. And the best we could compromise with was that she would say my name. Not use pronouns at all. Just say my name. Because for a while, she was able to say, oh, well, that's not your legal name. So once all of that was taken care of, like, what's the excuse now? So the compromise was, okay, I will say your name. Now, she's starting to revert again. And when I'm not present, it's he's all day long. He. A new aid comes. He. And I remember when she was on hospice, the first thing I told, and I don't know who can see, who can't see, and I don't live my life worrying about that because I'm quite upfront about it. Now, I don't walk into professional settings saying that, but I don't walk into professional settings talking about anything personal. It is what it is. You know, you don't, but that has nothing to do with the business at hand. My personal life, I'm upfront. You check any of my social media, that's the first thing you're going to see. A woman of trans experience everywhere. So when she was in hospice, when we were sitting down talking, well, I was sitting down talking with the nurses, the first thing I told the nurse, I'm trans. So that could be documented, that any nurse who would come would know, and so it would not be, give me 1 second, you all. I have to open the door because the neighbor, Miss Teresa, is coming over. All right. So I've unlocked the door. I turned on the lights to her room. They automatically come on at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon because she likes to sleep in normally. I told all of I put it in the case file so that anyone coming there would know. Without fail, anytime a new nurse showed up, she would sit there and she would say, you know, that's a trans, right? Never while I was present. Always when I was out of the room. That's just how much venom and disdain she has for Ceci. And that requires a lot of work through therapy. to accept that whatever love and warmth, motherly warmth and love that I had growing up, and mind you, it was limited because she could only give but so much. Because of her experiences. But you'll take what you can get. And that limited amount I made do with, though I craved much more, needed much more. But even that limited amount is missing compared to none. My mother doesn't know what Ceci likes or dislikes, what Ceci eats or does not eat, how Ceci feels, what's going on in Ceci's life, what is Ceci's mental state, and she has no interest. That's the part Ceci has to be consumed and concerned with her life, her well-being, and she has zero interest in Ceci or Ceci's well-being or mental state. What Ceci ate, what Ceci watched, what movie Ceci likes. There are none of those types of conversations because she has zero interest. Our relationship now is me making sure it's business. It's family business. Making sure that the lights are on, bills are paid, taxes are paid. She has supplies. That I signed her up so that she could vote by mail. That's our relationship now. Family business, and that's it. No pleasantries. It's to the point now that if she slips and has a good day and says something about loving me, I almost faint because that is a once in a blue moon occurrence. I know she loves that child that she brought here. And she's aware that a portion of that child still lives in me, and that's what she fights to keep, because that's the only part of me that she loves. And that's a lot of work one must do with the therapist to process all of that, particularly for someone who has always felt isolated, lonely, alone. Emotionally, my mother has been dead to me for a long time. I see people who have lost a parent and talk about people not knowing what it's like, and I know what it's like. My experience, I guess, is that kind of like people who have parents who are going through Alzheimer's. Whereas the body's here, but the connection is gone. And that's a terrible state of affairs. And there's nothing you can do but come to terms with that. At 80 years old, going on, I'm going on 53, she's going on 81. And that's not going to change. That's the reality. And it's just, one must make peace with it. And making peace with it psychologically is one thing. Making peace with it emotionally is another.